It's time for more coaching and coffee talk. I'm thrilled today to be joined from Lake Ontario. And when I mean
Coffee.
from Lake Ontario, I mean actually on Lake Ontario.
Yeah, we're on Lake Ontario.
Robbie Moyles, who has placed 9th in the world, an amazing feat in the 55 to 59 age group at the CrossFit Games. She is joined by her driver, Dave. Dave.
This is where we get all our practice.
Thank you so much for doing this. And congratulations.
Oh, you're welcome.
My goodness. I mean,
I'm very excited. I tell you, it was like a Cinderella story. Every moment that I was there, from the time that I was driving there, when I stepped in my hotel room, it was magical, and it was like a Cinderella. I savored every moment.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
I went from 5,578th place to 9th. So I'm going to take that.
and that was last year you placed that?
No, I placed
or that's
that
when you first started the
last
Open?
time I competed was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
I had, when I did the Open, when I say competed, I mean within the Open.
Right.
I've had several surgeries over the years, and the last recent surgery, I had some issues with my shoulder, so I had that done. So wall walks were always an issue for me. So I was really glad at the last workout they had wall walks, and I did way more than what I anticipated. So I'm very grateful for that.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
And so you described on Instagram a little bit about your childhood, that you weren't, maybe that these kind of intense sports that you're attracted to weren't encouraged for girls. Talk a bit about that and kind of and your whole journey to finding CrossFit.
Well,
I love the big story. Let's hear the story.
Yeah. I got a few of those. Well, I grew up in a small town in Newfoundland called Gander, Newfoundland. A lot of people know it. If you recall 9/11, all the airplanes from the U.S. that were entering into United States airspace were redirected into Gander. So it's a small town, got a big name and a big heart. Anyway, back in the early 70s, there were quite a bit of people there that were playing sports. And the sports, they were, baseball and hockey and all these really hard and tumble sports, but girls were not allowed to play sports. I remember went up to the Gander Mall and to sign up for hockey, and they said, well, girls are not allowed to play hockey. And so, it was really, I felt really like I was gypped out of something, because I really wanted to participate in sports that were more challenging than what were available to us. So the girls were allowed to do pottery, and we were allowed to play tennis, and we were allowed to do sewing. And then as I got older, the only thing that I could do is I tapped into a little bit of gymnastics. It was basic gymnastics, and I thrived in that. And also swimming, which is why I'm out on Lake Ontario. Swimming is my passion. And so I had a small opportunity to do some swimming. And that was the extent of my experience in high school. I just didn't have it. We weren't allowed. The other thing too, though, when I went to high school in grade 9, I did have an opportunity to do some weightlifting, and that was where I just fell in love. And when I was 15 years old, a lot of people don't believe me, but when I was 15 years old, I could bench 250. And I know that sounds really, I know, I can't believe it either, but I could bench 250. Wow. And then, of course, life got in the way. I started to party and do my own thing. And I went off on a tangent for a few years and just tucked that athleticism dream and childhood dream, tucked it in the back of my head, and then say, maybe someday, I'll be able to take the time and have the discipline and proper coaching to be able to do a sport. And I didn't know what it was. So fast forward to 45 years old. 4 or 5 jobs, stress, raising 2 kids by myself, went from rags to riches a couple of times. And, in my 45th year, I went to the doctor, and I was full of menopause, like 70 pounds overweight, just never took care of myself. And my doctor said, you need to either pick up weights or do something because, I'm looking at you and you're gonna have to do something. And this is the way it's going to be. If you don't take care of your body, your menopausal symptoms are just going to get worse. And that's what you're going to have to accept. And I just didn't sit right with me. And I just wasn't going to take that for an answer. So, there was a lot of 2 steps forward, 10 back, 3 steps forward, 20 back. I did that over and over again. And I remember, when I finally decided to go to CrossFit, there was a series of things that happened before that, and then just some guy came up to me and says, Robbie, you're a savage. You got to do CrossFit. And it was the way he said it. I had no idea what CrossFit was. And that I said, okay, it's just like a sign from the universe telling me that it was time for me to pick up something and do something for myself, because my physical health, my thyroid wasn't working. Everything was I was just falling apart. And so I went into a CrossFit gym and I walked in there, and the first thing I said to the guy, I'm like, I'm here to do CrossFit. I didn't see any mirrors and I didn't see anything like a normal gym. And he looked at me and he says, well, if you want to do what I do, you're going to have to do, if you want what I have, you're going to have to do what I do. And so I just, within 5 minutes, I was madly in love. I had no idea what I was madly in love with, but I got to be here. And a very short period of time, it took me, 2 or 3 weeks. And here I am 60, 70 pounds overweight. And I was watching these CrossFit Games athletes, and I said, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games. And everybody laughed at me and mocked me and told me I was crazy. But I said, realistically, Alex, who my coach was from CrossFit Mississauga, I said, realistically, Alex, I said, I'm coming from nothing. I said, I know I have a strength background from early childhood, but he said, it's going to take you 10 years, Robbie, 10 years of work. And I said, okay.
Oh, he said that right off.
He said that to me. And the other thing too, I'm going to take off my hat. My hair was really short. Like I had it shaved in the back and a little bit long in the front. And I said, I'm not cutting my hair until I qualify for the CrossFit Games. And there's a rat's nest going on here now because I haven't had it cut. This is a long, you can just call me Rapunzel.
Yeah, that's the Samson. Yeah, Rapunzel. Yeah.
I hadn't cut my hair in 10 years. Oh, just a little trim here and there, but I haven't cut my hair in 10 years. And
I was gonna say it's Samson hair, but there I am with the male, laying the male story on it. There is no female story of strength, right? Is
that right? Oh, I forgot even about that story. So I am due for a haircut. Just saying, it's pretty bad right now. But I said I'm not cutting hair. And people have vision boards and stuff. A lot of people have vision boards, and I said, I don't need no vision board. I got to look at this. So my journey was, when I started CrossFit, it was again 2 steps forward, 10 back, and I just stuck to my word. I did all the diets that were out there because I really, 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 I was so full of menopause and so full of cortisol and inflammation. I was a mess, and so it just took a long time. And I had so many injuries that I had to contend with back and forth, and menopausal stuff, and nearly dying. It's just, I don't know where to start. This podcast could just go on and on with the journey, but it's just so much.
Yeah. Well, you said you try a lot of different diets and things like that. Was there any one that really worked for you? I know you've ended up, you're a big carnivore advocate.
Yes. Whatever was out there, I did it.
Yeah.
I was full on vegan for 9 years. I was lacto-ovo, vegetarian. I was vegetarian, and then I did the raw juice thing for a while, thinking that was working for me. I ended up having an opportunity back in 2018 to go to Mount Everest to attempt to climb to base camp. And I thought, well, I'm really healthy. I don't really need to train. Well, I trained a little bit, with oxygen stuff, but I got this because I'm an athlete. And that mountain experience brought me to my knees in more ways than one. And I ended up having to get flown off of Mount Everest into Kathmandu, enough fluids in my body, to get back to Toronto, and in and out of hospital in Toronto for a month to figure out what was wrong with me. And I was diagnosed with C. diff, severe C. diff. And as a result of the C. diff, I ended up with severe IBS. And that was a real shit show. And I'm not kidding you. Through it was a shit show. Through that experience, I went to several specialists and had all kinds of colonoscopy. They had me on vancomycin for a while, which destroyed my gut bacteria. And the doctor, as a last resort, said, Robbie, you're going to need to stop eating cruciferous vegetables, which I was, doing that on a daily basis, the raw juices, try an all meat diet. And, for 9 months, I just said, well, I'm an athlete, you're just a doctor. These raw juices, and this is really good for me. So I continued to suffer, and my bouts of IBS were getting shorter in between, but longer, and severe symptoms. So I finally decided to try the meat diet, and that was a huge game changer for me. I started eating meat, salt, and water. I did a strict lion diet for over 4 months, and it resolved every issue that I had.
Wow.
My thyroid issue, I'm no longer taking thyroid medication. I've been on thyroid medication for over 20 years. I had a pituitary tumor. I had breast cancer, or a spot for breast cancer that they thought was breast cancer. There's just so many issues, and it resolved itself over time. And I don't work for any company. I don't promote carnivore because I'm getting any kickbacks anywhere. Yeah. I'm just saying what worked for me.
Just worked for you.
And as I applied good, healthy, grass-fed meat, organ meats, good quality salt, high fat, animal fat, I became more of I would now consider myself not necessarily carnivore. I'm an animal-based person, and I'm thriving on animal-based, and everything changed with my diet, in regards to strength, conditioning, the way I feel, clarity, mental clarity. I can just go on and on and on about the benefits, but I think there's a whole lot of pieces that came together for me to get to the games this year. I had a lot of strikes against me, and I just kept advancing, and, wasn't even planning on going because of the COVID thing. And I knew that I wouldn't have family there to support me. But each step of the way, I just made it, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to do whatever I can, and whatever ball falls down and we can't go. But, the health part, and especially during the games, that was a Cinderella story for me, because I never had the opportunity to, second chances, right? I had my study to be the best athlete, and I got to compete with the best in the world. Like, it just Cinderella, right? Really Cinderella.
Let me ask you one thing before we get more specifically into the game stuff. How, because you mentioned you were all full of cortisol, and how much in your, in your kind of recovery period do you think had to do with stress, and how did you focus on stress specifically, if you did, in terms of getting healthy?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. We could be here for 10 podcasts talking about that.
Well, that's my passion.
Sure.
That's my passion, so.
Dave is my husband. We've been together for quite a while, and we've been through so much together in our journey. But I'll tell you, in our life, in the course of our lives, being together and being married and having each other's back, in the last 5 years, we've had, back-to-back moments, parents dying, parents living in other provinces. So for me to get to my parents, you're talking a flight that takes forever, harder to get to Bangladesh than it is to get to Newfoundland. Sometimes easier to get to Bangladesh. Easier, but just the stress of one thing after the other happening. I don't know how, other than the fact that we're a tight couple and that we always have each other's back, the stress release for me was definitely CrossFit. As much as stress has a huge part in our lives, there are times that some of the professionals were saying for me to take some medication. I'm not opposed to medication, but I try not to take medication like antidepressants and those things, because I prefer to try my best to do with the result, the things that are available to me. So one thing for me is working out, lifting weights, swimming, staying active, helping others, seeing other people lose weight and encouraging them. So the gratitude for me has been, and also doing therapy on myself, because there's been some issues that have come up over the past that have creeped up again, that need to be attended to. And so I'm so grateful that I chose not to do medication, and I would if it was recommended, absolutely. But I don't need it right now because I have a plan, I have support, I have tools available to me, so that's a really, really good thing. It's, it's been some dark days for sure, but despite the dark days, I get my ass in the gym.
Yeah,
I get my ass in the gym, and I try to help others,
And has going into cold Lake Ontario there, has that been a lifelong thing, or is this something you've gotten into recently, doing the cold water immersion?
Well, my first experience with cold water therapy was when I was 19 years old, and I was in Butts Pond. No, I was at a pond in Newfoundland, and we were skidooing, and we went through the ice. And my girlfriend, I'm going to use exact words that she used. She got out of the ice, and I had my snowsuit on, and I was going under the ice. And she looked at me and she said, "Robbie, we're not fucking dying today." And she pulled me out of the ice. And now we had to walk back to the cabin, which took about an hour in drenched clothes. And by the time I got back to the cabin and turn on the wood stove again and get all that heated up, I remember my body was blood red. And I guarantee you, about an hour after we got back, there was this euphoria that I could not explain.
Wow.
And then I hear, all these years later, I hear about Wim Hof. I'm like, I can do that. And I got in the water. Like I'm going in at 36, 32 degrees now, staying in for 3 and 4 minutes. When I started this year, what was it, Dave? 42? 42 degrees Fahrenheit, which is how many in Celsius? That's what? 6 degrees Celsius. And staying in for up to 10 minutes at a time. And it's my body craves it. And the other thing that I just started doing with the Wim Hof thing is the breathing. And I'm really enjoying the effects from just for, doing 2 or 3 minutes or a 10-minute session.
Yeah.
It's been excellent.
Yeah, I do that every morning, the Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
And I actually, but this is the first winter that I did the winter bathing, and I was wondering if you ever experienced this, because I think I really have withdrawals from it. It's like a cold shower in the summer. The cold shower doesn't cut it. We got a little bit of a chill to this morning, and I don't know if you saw, I did a happy dance on Instagram because
how cold
I was like,
cold?
I chill. I mean, it's not even cold. It's just that it got your attention. You know what I mean? It's not, but over the winter it was frozen in the harbor. So it got to -3 Celsius.
Yeah.
And I had to punch a hole in the ice. And then when we lost that, it was like, oh my God, I used to get depressed in the winter. Now I'm getting depressed in the summer.
Exactly. I was saying to Dave, I got to get in the water. I'm going crazy if I don't get in the water. The other thing that I do is I do cryotherapy. So and one of the luxuries of my life as being semi-retired is getting to travel. And when I go to Florida in the wintertime, they have, there's a clinic there that I go to called Restore, and they do IV drips, they do stretching, and they also have cryotherapy and red light therapy. And so when I don't get my fix, I'll go into a cryotherapy and I'll do a 3-minute session. And the sessions, usually the temperature gets down to about anywhere from 200 to 250 Fahrenheit. And that's minus 250 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And so you want to try that, man. I'll tell you, that is, you come out of there, you're going, okay, Dave, Where am I going today? It's like a beautiful espresso first thing in the morning. And so that's why I come out here, and I love coming out here in April and May and doing the dips out here because it's cold, guaranteed cold out here.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that I've been implementing now is trying to swim 1 mile a day in
Wow.
this one. Yeah. So I've been doing that the past few days now. So that's what I'm doing after this.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk specifically about your games training. So 2 years ago in the open, you came out 5,000 and what?
5,578th place.
Okay.
I did one workout because my shoulders were shot.
Oh, okay. So you had to kind of drop out. Okay. And then, so as you are thinking, this is my time, I'm going for it right now. What did you hire a coach? You've tried different training programs, I saw like that. So what did you get in place to your team to say, okay, this is it, we're going for it right now?
I got real lucky.
Yeah.
I think I really lucked out. So I've tried several programs. I've done Invictus, and it's all good. Everything brought me to the next level, right? So I did Invictus for a while. I did one-on-one training with one particular coach. Then I tried, I said Invictus. I did DECA for a while. But what was a game changer for me is I went to OPEX, and which is specific training. And I had a coach that that was a CrossFit coach in Florida, and then they switched to OPEX, and their programming was really, really interesting. So I started working with Anthony DeSaro at OPEX, and that was where I was basically stripped down because I had developed a lot of bad habits over the years. You know, it's really, really difficult when you're a coach, and I really can understand and appreciate what coaches do. They're making pennies. It's only a passion for most of these guys that are doing the coaching. But it's really hard to keep your eyes on 10 people and correct them. You know, no, you're not hooking. You're not, shoulders back. You're muscling that. Stop doing that. 10 burpees, don't slam the bar down, all those kinds of things. It's very difficult. So you can develop bad habits. And because CrossFit is such a rush deal, it's, it's really, really, really in bad form to develop these bad habits. And I had so many of them. So when I started with Anthony, it's like, okay, you need to dissect everything. All those bad habits need to be gone. And so that time I had about 502 workouts with Anthony, and over a 2 or 3 year period. And that set me up for like the foundation. So my weightlifting was a really good foundation because I'm strong as fuck. Right. And then, the stripping down and get rid of the bad habits and doing isolation movements, and the program tailored for my injuries. Like, I'm really held together with scar tissue. Like, where do I start with my injuries? Both shoulders are gone, right? Pituitary doesn't work. Well, it's getting better, right? Both adductors are gone. My hips are sore, knees, I'm held together with scar tissue. So it's like playing whack-a-mole for me when I'm, do a round of gymnastics, got to give the lats a break. Now we're going to go into weightlifting, got to give a break. So it just it's injury maintenance. And so when I got to Anthony, I'm like an old beat up car with duct tape. I'm like, now you got to work on this. And that's why, for me being, so far behind and so many strikes against me, that I made it. Like, after the games, when we were all sitting there on the steps waiting, everybody's waiting for our piss test, right? So we're waiting for the test. And I felt like I was Cinderella. Like, here I am. I had no training, no previous real training. I did a little bit of weightlifting in high school, and no opportunity, got into the drugs and the drinking, and that just took over my life. And then I was in a bad marriage, and so finally, this this dream that I had as, one day I want to try to be the best athlete I could be. That opportunity that I had in CrossFit, I was like, I'm taking the bull by the horns. I'm going to go for it. And everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I don't care, because this is my last kick at the can, or it's the beginning of another kick at the can that I didn't think was possible for somebody like me. Right? I'm coming up to 30 years of abstinence, right? My life was such a shit show for so long. I had no direction, no discipline, right? And here I took what I learned from CrossFit is that no, man, you just don't do it like that. Because I went in 6 weeks in, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, like such an ignorant statement, and people laughing at me. But I know I really do want to go, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And here we are. I got my name on my shirt.
There's the jersey. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I cried nonstop for like 3 hours. I just couldn't get the smile off my face. 9th place. I made top 10 in the world. Some of the workouts didn't go in my favor, especially the swimming one, which is, but it just didn't matter. It was not meant to be, because I really, really was amongst the best.
Yeah.
Right. But I have to say, I couldn't have done it without Dave.
The Rock. Everybody needs the Rock.
Here's my anchor right there. Yeah.
Dave may get fan mail now. They'll say, hey, Dave, can you see me through?
Exactly. Yeah. It really takes a team, because I imagine the younger athletes and what it takes. I know how much work it takes now. Like I can really appreciate the whole preparation. But going to the games, like it was, again, I say I felt like Cinderella, especially going in and getting all my gear, like people say, look at all the free gear I got. No, man, I paid for that. I paid for that gear. I paid for the gear, but the gear was beautiful. And I felt like, I was putting on my new dress, like Cinderella, and, my new slippers, right? I have my new glass slippers. I got my new bull, beautiful 7 pairs of new shoes that fit perfectly. They weren't too big and they weren't too little.
And when you guys, when that stripped down period, when you're taking a look at everything and where you started training, what were some of your biggest weaknesses were there certain real weaknesses that you had to focus on and that you had really improved? And what were some of those? I know the strength was the shoulders. Yeah. So anything overhead.
Well, because I used to, one of my, like, just doing that was so hard, and I'll do one for a while, but I will someday. I will some way. It's the mobility, right? It's the issues and the scar tissue. So I have the luxury of having, I have a guy at our gym, Hawkstone Fitness, which I'm going to give a shout out for.
Yeah.
My got a chiropractor there. And then down in Florida, Redline Fitness and Matt and all the crew down there. Like, I just, wherever I go, I have a team of people now that are trustworthy. And so if I have an injury down there, I get somebody to look after it down there.
She has staff.
I have.
You got staff, yeah.
She just doesn't want to say it. She just has staff.
Yeah, wow. I don't know how the young ones do it. I mean, it really takes a lot of preparing. Because it's the unknown. You got to know gymnastics, you got to know swimming, you got to know strongman stuff, and I'm game to learn. I want to absorb as much as I can. Like every day there's something I learn new, but what I love the most, and I think we're on the same page, is when I see the new people coming in, that are 60 and 70 and 80 pounds overweight, and watch them getting their first pull-up, or that I still, after all these years of being in CrossFit, and this is my 10th year, I still get weepy seeing, because that was the way it was. And nobody, I didn't give up on myself. A lot of people gave up on me, but I didn't give up on myself. And so I like to encourage the new people, and it's the new blood coming in, right?
Yeah. And did you do most of your training out of a CrossFit gym, or you have your own gym at home where you did most of your training?
Yeah, I do it. I do attend. I've been to many CrossFits around the globe. I had the luxury of doing a lot of traveling, so I've been to many CrossFit gyms and trained with lots of different people and different styles of coaches and stuff. So I work in a garage sometimes. Sometimes I just do swimming outside. Sometimes I do go to a CrossFit box, and sometimes I go all over the place, but mainly when I'm in Toronto, I go to Hawkstone Fitness. And when I'm in Florida, I go to Redline Fitness and Real Fitness. That's CrossFit Naples.
And what about during like COVID lockdown? How did that affect things? Were you still able to go to those places and train, or were you training at home?
I was training at home. Sometimes, and when I was in Florida, the lockdown rules were different in Florida, so I had the opportunity to train all year. So I feel very, very fortunate with that. Yeah.
And what about the whole thing?
I know I'm rocking back and forth, so we got a bit of a swell going on here.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, yeah.
Yeah.
What about like you said, the strength was something that came more naturally to you, and I was the same way. When I was training competitively for CrossFit, strength was something that came much easier. And I had real challenges with the conditioning part. Have you found that challenging, or has the conditioning also come?
Yes.
Naturally
absolutely. That's coming out of the CrossFit Games this year. I know conditioning is where my next challenge is. I like the slow, hard, grindy stuff. Give me something for 2 hours. Sled drag for 3 miles. I could do that all day long, right? It's the running, it's the transitioning. So I've learned my weaknesses, and these girls, I was with the best, right? I have to say, I was with the best. So I'm so glad that I was able to recognize some of the things that I need to work on. Again, I'm going to be stripping right down and back to basics and rebuilding in the areas that I'm weak, right? Because that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
I just want to send you the biggest congratulations, and because this is the dream for every.
It really is.
I mean, for every Masters athlete, all the team of Butchers Masters at Butchers Lab in Copenhagen. We all, this is all the dream. Hey, can we turn this around and improve that much? And it's like amazing to talk to you, to talk to someone that actually has done it, and it's very inspiring.
Yeah, I've had lots of strikes against me, but I did not give up.
And age is not a barrier.
Age is not a barrier, and I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm in the absolute best shape of my life. So, I want to be able to experience good health for as long as possible. So whatever that means is what I do.
Yeah.
So I was going to end our thing by jumping in Lake Ontario.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm going to get Dave to hold the camera, and I'm going to say 3, 2, you'll say 3, 2, 1, go. And then I'm going to do my mile swim. So I just got to get my earplugs because I don't like water in my ears.
What's the temperature today?
I think it's
about 70 to 71.
Could be 70, 71. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's not cold enough.
It's not cold
right
enough.
Around 19.
It's just not cold enough.
It's just not cold enough.
It isn't. It really isn't. I did have a clip for my hair, didn't I?
I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Just going to get my hair clip and my earplugs, which are right here. And I'm doing a dive, and I'm going to swim 1 mile. To do that, I should have had this done earlier, but that's okay.
And this is every day you're going out and swimming a mile?
Yep.
Wow.
That's before I get to the gym, and then I have a bag of rusty nails for breakfast.
And you think she's kidding?
I am. Okay, I'm gonna dive off over here. And I love my new bathing suit from Noble. It's really nice. Okay, hon. Which way am I going? That way?
That way.
Okay, sayonara.
Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Oh, okay, we missed the dive, but thank you.